Here. I'm going to demo custom elements and custom element user interfaces. So I'm in the production Watson Content Hub here. I can filter the content types UI, and we've got some more kinds of content types. So we've got the traditional standalone content types. You can have a custom element type and a custom user interface type. So if I look at some of the custom element types I've got here, let's use days of the week as an example. So custom elements is used when you have a type that you will then want to use as an element within other types. So it's where you have a pattern that is very common for your business. So an example of that would be days of the week. This is a type that is marked as this is a custom element here, and it's just got a single option selection, and the options are the days of the week. So then that element will show up in the element palette here, and I can create a new type, and it can use the days of the week element here. I can add that to my type. So that could be like the opening days for a shop. You could be a multi-select, and then I could select the 5 days that the shop is open, for example. Another example would be image with caption. So for instance, if I'm a news website, every time I have an image, I have to attribute the image, or I want to put a caption on the image. So that element is just an image with a text element, and I'll put that in my article type, for example. So I already did that before. Let's take the filter off here. I've got an article here. It's got I've called it image on here, but it's an image with caption element. So now if I go and create an article, I will see that showing up. So I'll create an article, and it's got an image with a caption. So it's just two elements that are grouped together like that, and I can fold them away. So another use of once I have a custom element, I can also have a custom user interface for that element. So if I go back to my types, I already have some custom user interface types here. I got 5 of them, and if I show the end result first, this is about defining a custom user interface for the element when it's shown on the content form. So if I create an employee, this type, the type for this content has got a bunch of custom UIs set up. So the email address for my employee is set up as a special email address element that has some custom validation set up here, so that it knows how to parse an email address, and it could also check that the email address is like @ibm.com or whatever kind of validation rules I want to have. And the custom user interface here is preventing me from publishing this item until it's completely valid. So if I do test.test.com, it'll be happy with that, and then I could publish it. The second example is like choosing a location. This is a Google map based on a location element. That's what it's actually saving to. The first one was saving to a text element. This one is saving the selection to a location element. But Google Maps is providing the user interface for all that selection here. So I could, the customer could add searchability here. Like searchable address would be an obvious thing to add here. This is a rich text element, a customized rich text element. We have a formatted text element, but a common use case would be to bring your own rich text editor, like Textbox.io or whatever that you have a license for. And I should mention with the previous one that one of the reasons we've done this is that you need a API key to use Google Maps, so that's why we haven't built it into the product for now, but this allows you to use your own API key to use Google Maps. So similar here, you might have a rich text editor which you have paid for, or that's one use case, so you want to use it. And this saves to a formatted text element again. So I'm just replacing the rich text editor. This also allows me to customize exactly what buttons I want across the top. I could have as many or as few as I want, and turn off and on other features for the rich text editor. This one here is selecting a category through a tree picker from a third-party commerce system, for example, Digital Commerce or IDC or Magento or so forth. But more generally, this is just a widget which is like a tree picker that could come from any third-party system. The selections are coming from a third-party system. The selected item is stored as a text element. And finally, this drop down here is bringing the selections from the Apple iTunes API and just showing that as a selection. That's probably going to be a common kind of use case. So all of those samples are on the on GitHub.com, on the public internet here. You can go there, and that's the best kind of entry point to go and try these out and give it a go. So stepping back into how this all was set up, if I go to the content type for employee, again, I've just used the content palette to pull in each of these custom elements with a user interface. There's the 5 elements. I go to email address, and this is marked as a custom element and with a custom user interface down here. And I can choose an icon for it for when it shows up in the palette. And so you can see the text icon showing there. So I can choose an appropriate icon for each of my custom elements. And then the key one is also this custom user interface. So this is a asset, like a Kicker file, that is hosted in Content Hub. It doesn't have to be. You can use an absolute URL here to choose something hosted outside Content Hub, but most commonly you're going to have something that's in the delivery APIs of Content Hub. So that's what's going on there. So if I was to hit this URL against the delivery system of Content Hub, I would see the UI that I saw before for emails, just in that is then presented inside that iframe. So for the developer to set this up, what they've done is they've and you can follow the instructions in the repo there, is that they have an index.html which they upload to that location, and then it can use any framework it wants to use because it's in an iframe, so it could be Angular or React, but most often it's going to be just vanilla JS, i.e. just regular JavaScript without any frameworks, because these are often going to be quite simple. So here I've got an HTML file, and it uses a JavaScript file. And when I built these, I pushed them up to the hub using WCH tools. The other key thing to note here is the use of a small JavaScript library to communicate with the Content Hub authoring user interface from within my iframe, within my my UI extension. So I can get and set the element value. So here I'm just setting the value of the email address to the text element, and then there is a little interface to set whether the element is valid, which is what you were seeing before, and if it's not valid, it won't allow the content item to publish. There's a couple of other methods to get the definition of the element from the content type, and to resize the UI, resize the iframe. in case I need to request more space for my UI extension. And that's it. Thank you very much.